Welcome back to the Delaware Way. I'm Larry Menti. We are joined by Theo Gregory, who is the president of Wilmington City Council. We talked last segment a lot about saving money, about the fact that the police chief wants a homicide unit. You were saying if he wants one, which you agree with, that he should just move around resources to have one. And you wanted to cut some money from the fire budget, and you lost that fight.
That's correct.
So where do you get the money now? Where do you cut money?
We're in the process in-house with my senior staff of looking at all the budgets for the last 3 to 5 years. We want to look at trends, and we want to look and see where we can reasonably suggest some cuts in the next budget cycle, talk to the administration, and engage in some negotiations and try to save some money for the city of Wilmington. That's what we're doing now, and hopefully we can join hands with the mayor and the administration in doing so.
I want to talk about the risk management services. Recently it's come up that, is it Jenny Hinkle?
Jenny Hinkle.
Jenny Hinkle has been reinstated in the position of risk management officer, risk management, what's the title?
Staff. She's a staff person.
And she has a decent salary, but she's told to stay home. And they're hiring a consultant to do her job.
That's correct.
So you're paying 2 people to do the same job, and one person's just at home doing nothing.
That's correct.
Isn't that a waste of taxpayers' money?
Yes, it is.
And what would you like to do about it?
As a legislator, I believe that Jenny Hinkle should be brought back, and the consultant should not be there. But as a legislator, I don't make those administrative decisions. For some reason, the decision has been made to let Jenny Hinkle not be there, even though she's been reinstated to be there. There's no consequence to her income, but there is a consequence to her actually working. And people like to work sometimes for what they earn. So there is that consequence, and those decisions will be made in the court as to whether or not this administration decided not to let her back. Is that retaliation? That's the real question at this point in time.
Now, I know a few city council members have brought this up and are upset about it, and you're saying city council can do nothing about it?
Well, being a lawyer, I have to be cautious because it's a legal matter. It's in the courts, and I can't harm the city. At the same time, Ms. Hinkle has her rights. So I'm not going to aggressively say what should happen. I'm just going to say that from an administrative standpoint, it's the wrong way to handle the matter. From a legal standpoint, this administration may be in good and sound standing to do it this way, but I don't think it should be done this way.
You've had there seems like you've had a couple run-ins with the mayor. Do you think he's doing a good job?
I think he's trying to do a good job.
What does that mean exactly? He's trying to do good. You think his intention is good, but his actions don't meet his intention?
I believe that this mayor is trying to do a good job. Do I think his intentions are meeting? I think the first year and a half was really rocky. The second half of the second year is rocky. I think he's made some changes, and I'm willing to wait and see how those changes pan out.
Since he hasn't, and excuse the phrasing of this, so and correct me if I'm wrong, since he hasn't met your expectations as a mayor, what are his failings?
But let me say this, because someone doesn't meet my expectations, it doesn't mean that they're failing. You know, there are 2 different values there. He doesn't.
Well, in your estimation, though, it would be that he's failing if he's not meeting your expectations.
First year and a half, he failed. Second half of the second year, I think that he made his changes and he stabilized. Now we have to see going forward whether or not that sustains itself with the new people he surrounded himself with.
I want to talk a little bit about the I-495 bridge. Have you gotten an update, or is it going to be okay now?
No, I have not gotten an update, so I don't know if it's going to be okay now.
You're a city council president in Wilmington. Should you get an update on that?
You asked me a question, I gave you an answer.
No, I understand, but should you get an update?
Yeah, I should get an update. I don't have an update.
Are you upset about that?
Nope.
Why?
Because I have a lot of other fish to fry and a lot of other issues to deal with. I should get an update, but I didn't get an update.
Who's responsible for making you aware of that?
I assume the state of Delaware. I assume if they briefed the mayor, then the mayor would do it. And I guess I could ask also.
Yeah, that's true. But is the state of Delaware leaving the city of Wilmington out of this process,
No,
or you said you were just you?
I'm sure they briefed the mayor. I'm the legislative side. That's the executive side. The executive side gets more emphasis than the legislative side.
Should the executive side, or at least one of the offices under the executive side, be investigated because of how this was handled? Let me tell you the root of that question. In that there was all of this dirt that piled up, and it didn't just happen overnight. at the I-495 bridge. And overseeing that, I know, is the state. But there was also a city office that was overseeing that worked with the state. And it seemed like no one took responsibility except for this contractor. And yet, could that possibly have happened over all this time without the city or the state knowing about it? And since nobody's stepping forward and saying, no, we're to blame, it's our fault, should that be investigated, no, since it costs so much money?
Whoever gave the contractor permission to put the dirt there should be held accountable.
Who's that?
I don't know.
That's the root of my question. Should that be investigated?
I think it should be investigated.
By whom?
DelDOT. State has to investigate that.
How about a federal investigation, since it was federal property?
I was an assistant U.S. attorney. I don't know if the feds should investigate. Maybe they should, because you had a conflict between city and state. You bring the feds in and let the feds take a look at it. But I think DelDOT should do it. I think, let me say it this way in terms of my philosophy: local control. I think the local folks should do it first, and if we're not satisfied with their investigation, then you bring the feds in. I'm one that's very skeptical about bringing the feds in the first instance. I think the state should be able to take care of itself. So therefore, the state of Delaware should do an investigation and issue a report on the matter. If we're not satisfied as people as to what the state has announced and how they did the investigation, then you can bring the feds in.
But we both agree there should be an investigation.
Oh, there should be an investigation.
I know one of your passions is education. Mm-hmm. And when you were going to come in, I had a conversation with people in your staff that we would talk about that. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to keep my promise. Mm-hmm. When we come back on the Delaware Way, we'll be talking about education with Wilmington City Council President Theo Gregory. Mm-hmm.